honor tradition. But before we get into a meeting, I want everyone to look down at their button and look at the name. If anyone's button says Jason Pisecki, please give it to me. Otherwise, I don't know if I have to find myself if Donovan's here or not, but my button is somewhere. All right, we'll start the meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. Joni Smith is going to help out with a reflection, and we'll recite the four-way test at the end. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice. All right. Please remain standing for our reflection.
We thank you, Lord, for this beautiful weather, for our friendship with others at Rotary, and for the ability and the chance to serve you. Help us always remember service above self, and may you bless this meeting. Amen.
Thank you. You may be seated and enjoy lunch, and we'll be back in a few minutes with our visiting Rotarians and guests. Okay, we're going to get back to our meeting with our visiting Rotarians and guests. If you're a Rotarian with a guest, you can make your way up, and Jackie will hand you the mic so you can introduce your guest. Jane Klingman Scott has a guest, Aslan Scott, Robert Mathis is visiting us, and Ryan Sturkenberg. If you guys can make your way up to the front. It's like Jane's in first position. It's an enthusiastic, soon-to-be Rotary president.
He always looks pretty, so I don't have to give him that direction.
The mic. Yeah.
I want to introduce to you, is this thing on? I want to introduce to you one of the nicest fellows I've ever met, so I married him. This is Greg Scott.
Good afternoon. I found out this morning that we have a guest, Ryan Sturkenberg. Ryan is a Rotarian at the Fox Valley, Wisconsin Morning Club. He's been a Rotarian since 1991, and he's moving to Muskegon in the banking industry and joining our club. So a transfer, Ryan Sturkenberg.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon now. My guest is Robert Mathis. Robert is very interested in Rotary. In fact, he already completed an application for which we are very grateful. This is his first meeting, however, so we're kind of introducing him. We're putting on our best faces and all that. We're being really funny and cute so that he does not change his mind. Robert owns a company. Actually, he's the founder of a nonprofit called City Boy, and the purpose of that organization is to help assist those who are in very dire need, people that are re-entering from other areas and have no support systems. He assists them in gaining food, shelter, and if he doesn't do it himself, he, of course, shouldn't say throws, but he gives them the resources to go to another agency. The other thing that I really thought was really interesting, and I don't want to be too long, I know, that he and his wife, Raina, have collectively, altogether, 13 children. And I thought that was very, very interesting. He says they were all in one household at one time, but now they're all but one out of the household. So please welcome Robert Mathis, and let's give him a big hand. Thank you.
All right, thanks, Aslan. Okay, now we're going to get on to our program, and it is my pleasure to begin the passing of the gavel. And if Jane, Don Hutchins, Christy Nagengast, and Marty Seitzema could make their way up to the front, we're going to install you as officers and president of our club. So there'll be some repeating after me. While we're doing that, I'd like to acknowledge our continuing directors and officers. I'll be continuing as immediate past president, which I have been told and I firmly believe is the best job in Rotary. Ginny Sprague is our president-elect, Tim Arter is our president nominee, Marty Garinser, Jeff Lewis, Dave Ramos, and Aslan Scott are continuing on as directors. If y'all could just rise, I know everyone knows you, but please be recognized by the club. Thank you. I also wanted to acknowledge our departing directors and officers. If you're here, if you could please rise also. Mark Myers, as past president, is rolling off the board. We got Kathy Betts as secretary. Thank you so much, Kathy, for your service. Secretary's a very demanding job, and you've done a spectacular job. And then Marianne Gorman and Doug Wood. If anyone's here, just please stand up. I think Mark did already, so we're good to go. Thanks so much, everyone. All right, Jane, you're up first. Come on over. Okay, repeat after me. I, Jane Klingman Scott.
I, Jane Klingman Scott.
Let's get you a mic.
Oh, all right.
Even better.
We have to make this absolutely.
do.
Sure.
We're gonna get the perfect meeting in.
Yes,
I
sir.
my button did get found by Kim, so we're
There you
back.
go.
We're back on track.
We're back.
All right. I, Jane Klingman Scott,
I, Jane Klingman Scott,
as president of the Muskegon Rotary Club,
as president of the Muskegon Rotary Club,
will, to the best of my ability,
will, to the best of my ability,
administer the duties of the president in a businesslike manner.
me-
That's a long one, isn't it?
yeah, do the duties of the president in a businesslike manner
And in accordance with the club's constitution and bylaws.
and in accordance with the club's constitution and bylaws.
All right, well, thank you very much.
All right.
You can go. You can be seated. All right, Christy. I, Christy Nagengast,
I, Christy Nagengast,
do accept and understand the charges of the office.
do understand and accept the charges of the office
We'll just do this. To which I am elected and will work with diligence
to which I am elected and will work with diligence
for the betterment of the club.
for the betterment of the club.
All right, thank you very much. Christy is our incoming treasurer. She's taken over for Tim Arter. All right, let's go. All right, Marty. I, Marty Seitzema,
I, Marty Seitzema,
do accept and understand the charges of the office
do accept and understand the charges of the office
to which I am elected
to which I am elected
and will work with diligence for the betterment of the club.
and will work with diligence for the betterment of the club.
Oh, very well done. All right, Don. We're getting this down. I, Don Hutchins,
I, Don Hutchins,
do accept and understand the charges of the office
do accept and understand the charges of the office
to which I am elected
to which I am elected
and will work with diligence for the betterment of the club.
and will work with diligence for the betterment of the club.
All right, and Don is thank you very much. You can just set that on the table, please. And Don's coming in as our secretary. Okay, well, now's the point where I get to give my parting remarks. And if you know anything about me, I will keep these brief because I like to run a prompt meeting. At the beginning of the year, Rotary asked the incoming president to set goals for their upcoming Rotary year. And I had 4 goals as president. The first was to transition to hybrid meetings beginning on July 1st. That was our first hybrid meeting. It was also Mark's one and only, besides the time he subbed for me, in-person meeting. And I'm very happy to report that we held hybrid meetings every week, and at times we had up to 30 Rotarians online via Zoom and over 100 here in person. And it's really thanks to the hard work and technical savvy of Mike Vogus and the support of Kim Boersma and the stage managers, which was a brilliant addition to the program early on in our year. It was not without its technical challenges, and but I think we put on a top-notch meeting, and I'm very proud of the production that we do. My next goal was to highlight our Rotary vocational avenue of service. Rotary has 5 avenues of service, and our jobs and vocations was the one that really spoke to me. Over the past year, we've highlighted 50 Rotarians' vocations and professions, and along the way, we've not only learned what they do for their job, but we've gotten to know them a little bit better as people. The 2-minute videos are available on our YouTube channel if you ever want to go back and check them out. And again, thanks to Mike Vogus for his tireless efforts to get those done. The next goal was to support our Peace Builder initiative. The Peace Builder was something that was coming on right as my presidency was starting. And DEI has always been important to our club. I'm happy to report that the Peace Builder Club was launched. We are recognized by Rotary International as a Peace Builder Club. And thanks to the leadership of Kathy Brubaker-Clark, Kathy Betts, and the DEI committee. All right, my last goal had to do with membership. And at the beginning of my presidency, I put out this goal to grow our club membership back to our pre-COVID levels. At the time, we were 224 members. Before COVID, we were at 245 members. And Mary Ann Gorman and Doug Wood, very rightfully, they questioned. They said, well, is it about the quantity of members? Is it the quality of members? What are we trying to do? What are our goals? And we didn't quite reach our pre-COVID levels, but we are growing again. And Muskegon Rotary Club is one of the biggest Rotary clubs in our state. I still can't really get a straight answer from District or Traverse City, who has more members, but I feel like we're just nipping at the bud. And our club has really made a conscious effort to attract the right type of members that fit in with our club and live service above self. So there's a few people that I want to thank for making my Rotary year as smooth as possible. The first is the past presidents. This was a wonderful idea that our club came up with. The past president leadership breakfast happens the first Tuesday of the month at Carmen's. And I want to thank all the past presidents as well as the incoming presidents for their counsel and insight. Those meetings are invaluable. As I was talking to Ginny before the meeting, I think we both agreed we learn more from those breakfasts than almost anything Rotary puts on. Speaking of Ginny, I also want to thank Ginny Sprague for keeping me in line with our bylaws and Robert's rules as much as possible. But I could not have gotten through some of those parliamentary things without you. I also want to thank Ed Hendrickson for being our Sergeant of Arms and getting here every week to set up for our club meetings and tear down. It's great to have you back. Hopefully you had a good vacation, Ed. I want to give a big thank you to Kim Boersma for being my right and left hand at times throughout the year. I don't know what I would do without you, Kim. I think over the year we became a pretty good team, and we had a lot of fun along the way. You're an absolute delight to work with and a treasure for our club, so I really appreciate what you do. So after my first meeting on July 1st, 2021, I was sitting out in my backyard and I was having a beer and watching the recording of the meeting out on YouTube. And I got to admit, I was feeling pretty good about myself. I was really nervous that first meeting. I did not know exactly how things were going to go. You know, we had a whole year of Zoom meetings, and here I was back in person. But I don't know. I told my wife Tracy, I said, you know what? I think I did all right. And then I opened my email. And I got an email from Mike Vogus. If you've ever gotten an email with this subject line, you'll know what's going to follow. The subject line said, "I like you too much not to say it." And I thought I'm in trouble. Well, Mike had some constructive criticism about my performance, and I'll be honest, it knocked me down a few pegs. I went maybe not feeling quite as great about that first meeting. But, you know, after reading it a few times, I realized he was right, and we could do better, and we did better. And I think throughout the year, we constantly took feedback and really made this into a performance worthy of our Rotary Club. So thank you, Mike, for everything that you did. Okay. To wrap up, I'm confident that we're going to have a seamless transition. As Jane and I got together to talk about presidential matters last week, we met over chili dogs and talked more about baseball than I think we did Rotary. So I think continuity of the presidency is assured. One of the things I realized early on in my presidency is, although this is a business meeting, one of the things that Rotarians treasure most is the fellowship and friendship. So hopefully the structure that I brought in, I was able to strike a fair balance between those two things. So I want to share some advice for Jane, and this advice came from Bill Locksterman as I was coming into office. Bill was choking on something. Bill said, when I was asking him, you know, about my presidency, just any advice he had, he said, be yourself. And that's the advice that I would share with you, Jane. I did my best to bring my sense of humor and some structure to the meetings. I think that we had a pretty good run over the last year. So to conclude, being Rotary president is time-consuming, challenging, and sometimes just flat out hard. My inbox is looking forward to getting a break next week. So, but ultimately, this is one of the best things I've ever done in my life. Thank you for allowing me to be your president. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce the new president of Muskegon Rotary Club, Jane Klingman Scott. Ready for this?
I'm ready.
This is for you.
Oh, wow. Oh, lovely. That's lovely.
Would you like my agenda?
Yeah, just, I'm breaking with the agenda a little, Mike, because I have the microphone. But I do want to take just a minute to say how lucky I feel to be coming into this office after Jason. When we started last year's, everyone was apprehensive. How is this going to work? Will we have the right meals? Will we have enough people? Will anything work? And Jason just took over, and he operated as if he was in a building year. It wasn't as bad as the rebuilding that we are experiencing in Detroit right now, but still, that's never ending. This was 1 year that we went from having no meetings to having a straggling of 40 people at the first 2 or 3 meetings to being now at full strength. And I'll bet most of you did not even notice how difficult this was, how many obstacles there were because of Jason's quiet magic management. Just made it all seem smooth. And now I think we are in to keep the theme going, contention for the championship. And so I want to give to you, to Jason Piasecki, 2021 Rotary President. A life is not important except for the impact it has on other lives. Jackie Robinson.
Oh, beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Whoa. Break this thing. With that, we're going to enjoy a video to get to meet Jane.
Well, I started out my career in education. Being the daughter of 2 academics, I thought that was the best way to spend my life. I thought I'd be spending my life talking to young people about J. Alfred Prufrock. But when I got to Muskegon, and started looking for a job, the one that presented itself was in adult education. And that's where I met you, Mike, and Judy Hayner and John Nolan. They were part of that crew. And I was pretty happy there, but I realized I wasn't going to talk about J. Alfred Prufrock until I could teach my students to read. We had a group of people who had the life expectancy of going to school as long as they wanted and then start working in manufacturing. And the manufacturing closed down. And so now we had a whole generation of people whose literacy skills were not going to carry them through to the modern age of manufacturing, retail service positions that were available. And that led me to a little turn in my career where I actually focused on education for adults and especially in reading. That became so important that I could see our whole community was wavering, was having so many problems, and I thought a lot of it has to do with just people not having enough knowledge, not being able to access the skills that they needed to operate in a new economy. And so that really changed the way I thought about education. And got involved for 25 years in neighborhood revitalization through housing rehab, some business lending and support, but really trying to focus on the environment that people lived in and trying to improve that physically and financially. And one of the big bonuses to that is that I still kept myself in education because part of the program was financial literacy and home ownership literacy. So I taught classes all through that part of my career, which was really fun, and it was really revealing to me how much a little bit of just pointed education, pointed literacy could make a difference in a person's life. And then an opportunity came up which I never had expected, but it was with the Great Start Collaborative, which is a collaborative of schools and medical practices and social services and just plain parents who were looking out for the welfare of babies from 0 to 5 years old, providing the families of those children some parenting support, navigating them through all of the myriad of educational and social and religious, well, not religious, but social supports so that those babies could thrive. And our goal was that by the age of 5, they would be able to enter school socially, cognitively, physically able to meet the challenge of school and learning how to read. And that was really fun. That was a combination of organizing, of education. I learned so much about the development of the young child and how the parents support that. It was a wonderful capstone to my career. So I started out in education, and I ended up with adults, and I ended up with babies. I bring an academic curiosity about the world. I am a huge reader of both literature and history. I know how communities work, and I know how leadership can emerge from every community if it's given enough support. I also know that within almost every community, and really I think within every social group or political group or religious group, there are people who are operating with intense goodwill and really want to reach out of their own small community and connect with everybody outside in the world, really in the world. And how do they find those connections? They're not living next door to them. They're not living next door to somebody in Ukraine or somebody in India. But through literacy, they can learn about other people's lives, learn what commonality we have in humankind, and especially being able to build empathy. So the more we learn about each other through whatever means, for me it's through literature and through history, but the more we learn about each other in our daily lives, in how we think and believe about just the normal things in life, the less we will have to focus on the things that are disruptive or disunifying. I'd say with almost any person that I've ever met, 90% of what we do in life, we do commonly and we agree about. And there may be that 10% that we violently disagree about. But if the 10% is the focus of our relationship with other people in the community rather than the 90%, we will always be living in discord. And so learning about each other, learning about each other's childhood, their schooling, how their parents created their menu for the week, what their aspirations are. If we learn that before we focus on those things that we disagree upon, we'll have less room in our relationship for those matters of discord. And we will start having much more empathy for people who we know, who we run into at Rotary, who are living on the other side of the world, because we have a literacy of people. And that to me is one of the most important things that we can do in our lives. What is valuable is really the prestige of the club. And that in the beginning, the prestige of the club was focused on the important people who belonged to it. We still have a huge prestige, but I think it's now based more on that the leaders, all the leaders of the community gathering, but the leaders of the community gathering with the next generation of leaders and the people who are supporting that. We have so much more diversity now than we did 50 years ago, but we're still focusing on the same principles, that we're using what talents and resources we have to learn about our community, to improve our community, and to put out our hand to those in the community who want to partner with us. And that's what's so important about Rotary. We're getting to be a very big club. And we work very diligently to make that big club a small club in terms of how we are getting to know each other, how we are engaging all of our members, how we can look with fresh eyes at the community, how we can bring in people of divergent opinions or ideologies and find all the common ground to go forward. As the community struggles with divergent philosophies, politics, social organizations, we need a unifying force. And I think Rotary can be a unifying force in our community. It's no question. The best assets that we have are the broad sector, the people, the broad population that represents so many different sectors in the community. And that's pretty much what that's pretty much why I joined Rotary. is that I was feeling that I was kind of working in a bubble in this nonprofit world of neighborhood development. And when I joined Rotary, I was connected with so many different sectors of the community who looked at the same problems I'm looking at with such different eyes that I learned to get out of my bubble and look at something from 4, 5, 6 different viewpoints. And it really helps you in getting new ideas, new processes, new ways of doing things. And of course, the relationships that you build are actually new resources for you to solve any community issues. Well, I don't know if they need to know, but I like to talk about my family. Just ask me about my grandkids anytime, and I can go on for hours and hours. I've married to Greg Scott for 30 years. Greg was a nonprofit director for Pioneer Resources for 30 years. We have children that go from the state of Wyoming to the Upper Peninsula to Glenside. I was really blessed to be raised by these two academics and to find such a intelligent and interesting husband and just enjoy the heck out of my children. So one of the issues I think that divides us so much is that people are not comfortable in exploring the lives and the ideas and the philosophies of the other. It's very difficult then for me to go knocking on somebody's door and say, I see your political sign in front of your door and I want to talk to you about your political stuff. But if I can read the life stories of all of these people, and then I'm going to be understanding and have more empathy. The other thing that literacy is important in this world is that there's so much that we have to learn, and so much that we have to discern the quality of it. So a literate person who has a wide range of experience in getting information, whether it's from books or computers or television or radio or whatever, they are going to be able to discern what is good and valid information that's going to help them and what is pulp information that's meant to just entertain, distract, or even produce anger. My focus this year is going to be on literacy, because I believe so strongly that a well-trained mind is going to have a well-trained spirit, and that that the more that we can reach out to the broad spectrum of humanity, not only across countries, neighborhoods, but even across history, will help distill our idea of humanity to really the highest point. One of my favorite reflections is from Desjardins, who says all things that rise will converge. And what that means is that as we work towards perfection in any of our endeavors, and that perfection rises, then we can recognize the perfection across all areas. So a person who is the most superior symphonic musician and the person who is the most superior rap artist, both of them have honed their art and their vision of the world to such a fine point that they actually converge. And that's really what we have to do, is to raise the expectations, raise the quality, raise the empathy of all of our work to such a fine point that we are going to converge in that perfection. Well, thank you. And I know you've probably heard enough from me for quite a while. But I do want to just make a quick notes about what I see my goals for in the next year. And in terms of the club itself, we have a wonderful membership. It's growing. We're working on bringing the diversity of the community into the club. We're working to understand each other. So I'm borrowing a goal from one of our past presidents, Josh Wallace. You all remember Josh of the jackfruit. Josh. And I asked him what his goal for presidency was, and he said he just doesn't want to break it. So that's my goal for this year, is I don't want to break anything. But furthermore, I do want to emphasize, like I said in the thing, is that literacy is an important point. September 1st, we'll have a program based on literacy so we can get into more depth about how that happens in a human being, infant, someone trying to get proficiency, adults, and with a special emphasis on empathy literature. And again, another big goal is to continue with the peace builders, that we know that peace is built on justice and economic security, and to celebrate that on September 28th, we will be having a special day of dedicating a peace poll and having a guest speaker, Gaia Panpo, come, and she'll be here at Rotary too. And so I hope that those themes, that we can work through all of our endeavors here in Rotary, and I am very, very thankful for the support, and hope that we can have another good year. And now on to business. This is the birthday section. We have birthdays this week. Susan Besterman has a birthday, as well as, I knew I was going to lose my place, Stephanie Cathy, Bob Irwin, Mary Beth Ramos. I know some of you are here, so if you want to celebrate your birthday with $10 to the club, we'll sing you a happy birthday song. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. And now continuing with our new tradition, we'll have a member spotlight with Leanne Mikesel. The vocational service is one of Rotary's 5 avenues of service, along with club service, community service, international service, and new generations. It calls on every Rotarian to work with integrity and contribute their expertise to the problems and needs of society.
My name is Leanne Mikesel. I joined Rotary late in 2017, shortly after I started working for the city of Muskegon. I was invited by Kathy Brubaker Clark, who is a friend of mine. I've known her for a while. And I was interested in meeting more people within the community. And it was important to me to be part of an organization that was service-oriented, where we could do some good work in the community. I have 2 children that are in college, Allison and Cash. Allison should be graduating soon, which will be nice. Then she'll be off my payroll. And Cash will be heading off to MSU in the fall. I was trained as an engineer and worked as an engineer for most of my career, and kind of came by city management as a happy accident. Right now, I am the deputy city manager for the city of Muskegon. But I think when this interview airs, I will be the interim city manager, because our current city manager has resigned Basically, I administer ordinances and policies of the city, oversee the budget. I offer guidance to all of our divisions to make sure that they're working toward the goals set by our city commission. Well, I've been managing cross-functional teams for 20 years. So, I really am focused on communication and collaboration. So those skills can help do a number of different things. And, I'm really about community building. So, I just really have a focus on people and how to make our community a better place for everybody.
Thank you. Thank you, Leanne. That was a lovely presentation. We have now announcements. Rob Taylor, would you like to come up and give us the report on the Seaway Run?
Thank you, Jane, and congratulations on accepting the gavel. I'm looking forward to a great year under your leadership. And I'd like to thank Jason for his leadership this past year and having my back, chairing this Seaway Run committee with some of the things that came up in my life during my tenure. So we had a great event. We had over 1,100 actual participants. There were 1,400 people registered, but actually close to 1,200 that ran, walked. I had the pleasure, and my wife and I, of leading out the half marathon on our bicycles. But my wife had to keep telling me where to make the turns, which is like unheard of. Usually it's the other way around. But it was a great day, great weather. I think everybody I saw come across the finish line had big smiles on their face. They drank lots of chocolate milk and ate lots of donut holes. And all that was donated. So we had real success with our sponsorship. I don't know what the final numbers are yet. We'll get a report from the race directors sometime in the future. But they did a great job, Brian Lambert and John Frawley and their team, putting the whole thing together. At times I was like, is this thing going to come together? But sure enough, it was all there. Well, when the time came. And I really want to thank all of you that volunteered. We had a lot of volunteer opportunities in June, and this club always steps up and people get out there and serve. I think that's about everything. So again, another great event, and you can all look forward to hearing what how much we put in the coffers for all the work that we try to do in the community. Thank you.
Another announcement is the Rewind will meet tonight at 5:15 at, anyone know where they're meeting? Oh, next week, okay. I don't know, is somebody, gremlins coming in, messing around with my agenda? I don't know. Well, maybe we can correct this by having the raffle and we can win big. So Mary Beth Ramos will give us a raffle.
All right, the first one's going to be 5. Oh, 5. That's what she was doing. 587. 587. We don't have 587.
Yeah. You do. Oh! Hey, how about that? Oh, yeah, Tim, yeah, I've heard that before. Hey. Hey. We always like to end on a high note like that. So I want to thank our guests for being here, Greg, Robert, and Ryan. And next week's program is going to be Diatribe, and hosted by Contessa Hood. And if you want to try to find out more about it before we start, you can always look at thediatribe.org. It's really an interesting website. It'll be a good program. And so we want to conclude the meeting by our four-way test. So if we all rise. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and will it be beneficial to all concerned?